Hi everyone, welcome to Beyond the Evidence. This is the channel where justice matters. My name is Marv. I am a true crime fanatic, and I love to dig deeper into the mysteries of unsolved cases. Join me as we search for missing persons, uncover the clues in unsolved murders, follow along with jury trials, and we'll be a voice for the voiceless. I'll share with you the facts, the theories, the clues, the evidence, and the controversies that surround these cases. This is Beyond the Evidence. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Saturday to you all. I wanted to just start today by remembering those that lost their lives in the Columbine shooting that happened 25 years ago today. So, with that, I'm going to share my screen. And here is a picture of those that were lost 25 years ago. I just want to take a moment to remember them and say each person's name as it's been 25 years since they were lost on that fateful day. We have Cassie Bernal, Stephen Curnow, Corey DePuter, Kelly Fleming, Matthew Kechter, Daniel Moser, Daniel Robow, William Dave Sanders, Rachel Scott, Isaiah Scholes, John Tomlin, Lauren Townsend, and Kyle Velasquez. May your legacies shine bright and bring hope to others, even 25 years later. So thank you for taking a moment to remember those victims with me. I remember when this happened and I was fixated to the television set. I think we all were. So today, the past few weeks since I've gotten back from Indiana, I have been very behind on the Delphi case. I have downloaded some documents. I have not had the chance to read them yet. So today we're going to go through those documents together. I'm sure a lot of you have heard them, but this is my first time reading through them, so we might as well review together. I'm glad you guys have joined me today to do this, and we'll get started. So I am pretty much starting backwards, and I'm going with the most recent and then going backwards. So we have a witness and or exhibit list filed on 4/19/2024. And then we have the defendant's notice of submission of a supplemental witness and exhibit list to the state. And I'm just going to save this again. Okay. So this one says, comes now the defendant, Richard M. Allen, by counsel Bradley A. Rozzi, and respectfully notifies the court that the defense has turned over a supplemental witness and exhibit list to the state outlining the witnesses the defense may call and the exhibits the defense may use at trial. The defense may supplement the list if new witnesses and or exhibits are obtained, or if the defense deems that additional witnesses and or exhibits are necessary. So basically, with the trial coming up, the defense is stating they are handing over their witnesses and exhibits. However, I don't believe we get to know what that is, unfortunately. Okay, then you have the state's notice of submission of supplemental witness exhibit list to the defense. So basically comes now the state of Indiana by its prosecuting attorney, Nicholas McClellan, and respectfully notifies the court that the state has turned over a supplemental witness list and exhibit list to the defense, outlining the witnesses the state may call and the exhibits the state may use at trial. The state has also turned over additional discovery that has come into its possession. The state may supplement the list if new witnesses and or exhibits are obtained, or if the state deems that additional witnesses and or exhibits are necessary. Now that's quite interesting because I thought all the discovery had to be turned over already. Maybe, maybe not. What is everybody's thoughts on that? That's in the chat here. This was filed on April 15th. So we are starting court in a few weeks, few weeks, and the state is just now turning over discovery. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So we have an order issued, ex parte communication from James Beverton and Savis Gunn, ordered, copied, and sent to the council of record and the clerk of Carroll Circuit Court. Yeah, I guess, Silas, it is possible that new information did come out, and that they gained additional evidence or testimony or anything. And I'm sure with this case, that is very possible. Okay, so this was from 4/15/2024. Ex parte communications from James Beverton and Savis Gunn, ordered, copied, and sent to council of record and the clerk of Carroll Circuit Court. Now, I know that a bunch of letters have been sent to the judge, and this is one of them. So let's see what James has to say. Honorable Judge Gall, the victims in this case, Abigail and Liberty, their surviving family members, are as important to this case as the idea of justice being done. Absolutely, I agree with that. The victims in this case, to honor and respect them, Only one course of action is required, and that is to stand firm on a lack of video or audio coverage of the trial. It is with great sadness for the lack of humanity that I see YouTube creators, defense attorneys, live streaming, and podcasting just facts. People who weren't out for practicing law, desperate for attention and media appearances, who have become a never mind of it, misinformation, spreaders, investigators, and sensationalistic content creators. Some who, despite being present in your court as proceedings are taking place before them, rush to do a live stream on YouTube in their rabid followers. Oh my God. And barefaced lie about what was said in order to add fuel to the already too many conspiracies and theories floating around about this case. This is a mess. Any audio or video of the trial will be used in the manner by these people. Those that truly believe every person in a position of authority within Carroll County is part of a grand conspiracy. And yes, the very same people who have either seen or desperately want to see the crime scene photographs that were leaked due to negligence on the part of Mr. Baldwin. Some of these who host their own content have created relationships with Mr. Hennessy and Kara Schaefer Weinecke. Not only does neither one appear to want to quell the behaviors, they actively encourage the re-victimization of Abigail and Libby. For the sake of the victims, the families, anyone who retains their humanity, please do not allow any recordable coverage of the trial. Sincerely, James. Interesting. So most of the letters that we have seen and received we have actually asked for the cameras to be in the courtroom, not the opposite. So this is from Savis Gunn. Judge, let cameras in the courtroom so at least we see what happens in there. Given how horribly biased you are and abusing your power, we do not have a shred of trust for you. You must have recused yourself long ago and not babysit the corrupt prosecution and law enforcement. What a despicable human being you are. Shame. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I will have to say that James's letter was a lot better than this one. Sending a letter to the court just demeaning the judge is not going to help anything in this case. That is absolutely crazy. Yeah, Cyrus, so disrespectful. Exactly. Goodness gracious, have some respect. All right, motion to suppress the accused second statement. Now, I've heard a little bit about this. You know, I am keeping up watching videos and stuff, but I have not had a chance to read through this. So that is what we're going to do today. Oops. So I'm going to make this as big as I can so everybody can see it. Nope, that's me. Hit the wrong button. And apparently that is all the bigger I can make it right now. All right, let's start. Comes now the accused Richard Allen by and through counsel and moves this court to suppress all statements from his October 26, 2022 interrogation at the hands of law enforcement Jerry Holman, who failed to read Rick Allen his Miranda rights while yelling and swearing at Rick Allen, lying to Rick Allen, and attempting to intimidate Rick Allen behind a closed door in a tiny interrogation room at the Lafayette Police Post. Additionally, a key portion of the videotape interrogation provided to the defense is missing. The missing portion of that video is the beginning of the interrogation when Miranda should have been read. Okay, that first paragraph talks about the Miranda rights. That is very, very important. Why don't they have the video showing the Miranda rights? Now, yelling and screaming at Rick Allen, well, that is a common tactic for detectives. It's not against the law. Neither is lying to them. Police do it all the time. Playing the bad cop by trying to intimidate the person, not against the law. It's been a police tactic for years. So the only thing in this first part that I'm concerned about is why wasn't the Miranda rights given, recorded, or sent to the defense? In support of said motion, the accused states the following. Law enforcement officers requested Rick Allen to appear at the Delphi Police Station to answer questions, and on October 13th, 2022, Allen voluntarily went to the station and sat down with police, thinking he was assisting them in solving the Delphi murders, since he had been on the trails earlier on the day that the victims disappeared. Rick wanted to help out any way he could, and that is clear in the video. The video was previously provided to the court on September 18, 2023. The October 26, 2017 interview is being sent to the court overnight via certified mail for the court's review. Okay, that one is plain and simple. He thought he was going to the police station to help, as do most people when they first get there. Right? I mean, the police aren't going to come out and say, hey, we need you to come to the police station because we think you're a suspect. Silas says, I wasn't concerned about Miranda too, but I've seen others say it wasn't needed as he wasn't under arrest at that point, but who knows? True. And the fact that he thought he was coming in to assist with the investigation, I guess that would be a question for one of the attorneys. And if they could provide more information on that. Number 2, the 2 officers that interviewed Rick Allen on that day were Tony Liggett and Steve Mullen. Okay, plain and simple. Number 3, Rick was read his Miranda rights and signed an advisement of rights form, which is normal protocol for law enforcement before an interrogation begins. Okay, so is that the difference? The first one wasn't an interrogation. It was a witness who had been in the area coming in, and that's why they didn't read him his rights. Number 4, for the first roughly 3/4 of the interview, it's apparent from the interview Rick believed he was assisting the police in their investigation and search for those that murdered the victims in the Delphi case. And we've all seen the TV shows of any crime TV show. That's normally how it starts out, right? They bring them in there, they chit chat, ask them where they were, what they may have seen. Miranda rights aren't until you are being interrogated. And I don't know if you have to be under arrest, but if it's an interrogation and they're blaming you for this, do you have to read them their Miranda rights then? Something to look into. Number 5. However, eventually, when it became obvious that Liggett and Mullen were actually pointing the finger at Rick Allen as the killer, at one point in the interview, Rick said, "I don't want to be somebody's fall guy, and we're going to try to make pieces of a puzzle fit somewhere they don't fit so we can close this thing. I'm not saying you guys, please don't think I'm questioning your integrity. That's not what I'm saying." So obviously, at some point in this discussion, Rick Allen, things came to in his mind that, hey, wait, maybe they're pointing this out to me. And I'm not taking the fall for this. Number 6, however, when Liggett and Mullen amped up the intensity of their questioning, even positioning their bodies closer to Rick said the following: "It's over. I was perfectly fine. I was cooperating and I was going to give you my phone. And then, when you started reading all these documents, that's at the, here's my thing. Here my thing is, I feel like you guys think I done this. No, I'm done. You do what you need to do. It's your job. I understand that, but you better effing leave my reputation out of it. So you do what you need to do, and then, like I said, when you do find this guy, I'll expect an apology." Ooh. Rick then described how police were trying to ruin his reputation by accusing him of the murders in public, even groping him as they patted him down in the street. Rick was expressing that the mere act of mentioning his name as a possible killer or patting him down on a public street as if he were a criminal would ruin his reputation and was greatly upsetting. That bothers me. You're more worried about your reputation than the police accusing you of killing 2 girls? I wouldn't be sitting there talking about my reputation. I would be sitting there adamantly denying that I had nothing to do with this and that they better go find the real guy. I mean, yes, he's not the only one that has been looked at for this crime. He hasn't. Look at how many other people have been patted down, talked to, search warrants have been issued on their homes and stuff, and he's worried about his reputation. What the hell? Would any of you be worried about your reputation versus the fact that you would be screaming from the rooftops that you had absolutely nothing to do with this and you were not the killer? Wouldn't that be your way of going about this instead of worrying about your reputation? Just okay. Number 7. Liggett and Mullen did read Rick Allen his Miranda rights before they began their interrogation. And additionally, Rick Allen was aware that he had freedom of movement as he, Rick, ultimately stood up and walked out of the interrogation room. Okay. However, at the end of the interview that turned into an aggressive interrogation, Rick made it clear that he no longer wanted to talk to law enforcement. And that's his right. And they let him go. Number 9. Within hours of the first interrogation, Liggett drafted an affidavit for search warrant. Judge Diener then signed the warrant to search Rick's home and vehicle. On that day, Rick Allen's vehicle was also seized. That's not uncommon. That's not uncommon at all. You talk to somebody, you start aggressively interrogating them. Yeah, they're putting the heat on them. They want them to talk. They want them to confess. Common tactic. So once he walks out, they feel that he has more to hide, and they're going to go get a search warrant if they have enough to get it. And the judge thought they did because he signed off on it. The defense will not be seeking this first interrogation to be suppressed. Why not? If they feel that this was all wrong, why not suppress all of it? Hey, Carrie, how you doing? Second interrogation. On October 13th, 2022, Kathy Allen, Rick's wife, and Rick Allen asked the state police when they could pick up their vehicle that had been seized. They were told that they could pick it up in a couple of days. Carrie, you're right on. I'm sure he was hoping that he was going to remain under the radar, especially after a few years of giving his info, the DNR, and no further inquiry from ISP. Got that right. Let's see. On October 17th, 2022, either Kathy or Rick contacted the state police to determine how and when they could get their vehicle back that had been seized, as they were in need of that vehicle, as Kathy and Rick were having difficulty sharing only one vehicle as they worked in 2 different places and needed 2 vehicles. Okay, that sounds legit. Legit reason why they wanted their vehicle back, but They also have to understand that this is an investigation and police are going to hold on to it for as long as they want. Right? After a few phone calls with state police, finally on October 26th, Rick and Kathy were scheduled to arrive at the state police post in West Lafayette at 9 a.m. to pick up their vehicle. So, does anybody see anything wrong with that? Ashley, I wouldn't know what to think if I was accused of a crime I didn't do, but I'm sure I did a crime with some of what practiced what to say if they did caught me and he really didn't seem prepared for it. Well, that's probably because he got away with it for over 6 years. Right? I mean, at this point, he wasn't on their radar. Nothing happened. He wasn't really questioned. And he didn't prepare for it because he thought he got away with it. But we all know that things catch up with you, right? So, let's see here. State police had told Rick and Kathy that upon arrival, their car would be released, but never mentioned anything about additional questioning. Wow. Come on. Do you really think they're going to tell you that they're going to question you when you come to pick up your car? I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. That's just going to be a situation where I don't know, would you consider that something automatic? Anytime they can get you to the police station, you should just automatically assume that they're going to question you? That would be my guess, my assumption. You know? Okay. When Rick and Kathy arrived at the station, Holman met them at the front and said he just had a few things he wanted to clear up before he released the vehicle. Holman requested Rick to follow him to the interrogation room without Kathy. Rick complied. To me, that's legitimate. If you've had a car and you've searched it, you may have some follow-up questions on what was found or not found or where it was. And to me, that's just standard. It's no big red flag in my mind. You know what I mean? Kathy was not allowed to participate in the questioning. She was told she could wait in the lobby. Standard procedure. Rick arrived with Holman into the interview room. Okay. Oh. I lost my spot in my downloads. Hang on. There we go. Okay, number 10. However, for unknown reasons, the video provided to the defense is missing the beginning portion of the interview when procedural matters are typically handled by law enforcement, such as the reading of Miranda, advisement of rights, and confirming with the suspect that he is free to leave, if in fact the suspect is free to leave. So, once again, he's just bringing him in for some questions before he releases the car. Do Miranda rights have to be given at that time? That's something we got to find out. One question I would have is, was the car actually there? Well, in these documents, they're stating that both Kathy and Richard went there to pick up the car. So the car had to have been there. In this case, either A, the camera was only turned on after Holman and Rick were already minutes into the interview, because the video provided to the defense does not show Holman and Rick entering the room, sitting down, and beginning the interrogation. Do most of the videos I've seen don't show that. It starts when they start talking. B, the camera was recording the entire time, but the beginning of the interview was later edited out before being turned over to the defense in February 2024. All right, listen, I know there's a lot of corruption going on around the world, but not everything is corruption. So I can't wait to hear what the state has to say about that. 21, either way, the beginning of the interaction between Holman and Rick in the interrogation room, when introductions are typically made and Miranda rights are always reviewed, is missing. In the 70 plus years of experience between, what the heck is that? Oh, co-counsels, this is highly unusual, especially on a high-profile case of this nature. The defense has not been provided with any report explaining this missing part of the video. Okay. To make matters more suspicious, Holman claims in his November 1st, 2022 report, memorializing his October 26th interrogation of Rick Allen, the following. I asked Mr. Allen if he remembered the other detective reading him his Miranda rights, and he said yes. I told him he was free to go at any time and that the door was unlocked. Holman's report doesn't identify who the other investigators are that purportedly reviewed Miranda with Rick. Okay. Holman's report doesn't detail when, where, or how these purported investigators purportedly reviewed Miranda with Rick. Holman's words quoted in paragraph 23 above appear nowhere on video. In other words, Holman is not shown asking Rick Allen about his rights, nor is Holman viewed telling Rick Allen that he is free to leave. In his report, Holman indicates that these words were stated to Rick Allen at the very beginning of the interview. The beginning of the interview is missing. That like I said earlier, that does concern me. It absolutely does concern me. Why is... I guess I got to do some research as to find out when your Miranda rights have to be given to you. Is it anytime you talk to the police? Is it just when you are being brought in as a suspect after you've been arrested? What is it? Let's see. Sleuthy. I've spoken with several current and former LEOs, and all say not Mirandaizing him was a blunder. And if they did read him Miranda and didn't get it on record, that's a blunder too. Right. And that could absolutely be, and I'm just thinking here, a reason why this would get suppressed. Okay. $28. The defense has diligently marched through the discovery for any Miranda waiver of rights form signed by Rick Allen on October 26, 2022. The defense has found none. Interesting. So my question then is, Nick McClelland, where is it? And why wasn't it given to the defense? Just as Brad Holder's February 17, 2017 interview is missing, just as the mimic crime scene found on Holder's social media page is missing and still has not been turned over to the defense. But the defense thankfully located in Georgia, and just as Rick's original tape statement to Dan Dooling in front of grocery store in February 2017 is missing. The beginning portion of Holman's interview with Rick Allen is also missing. The defense has diligently searched through the discovery for audio or video by any law enforcement from October 26, 2022, in which it can be seen or heard that Rick Allen was read his Miranda rights or told that he was free to leave. The defense has found none. Therefore, at this time, it appears to the defense that Jerry Holman's claims in his report that Rick Allen was asked about his Miranda rights and told he was free to leave are false, and that the key video evidence that would prove as much is missing. I'd have to say defense is right on there. Not necessarily that it's false, but once again, we're talking about these police officers making mistakes. The following are true and accurate depictions of what occurred at Allen's October 26th, 2022 interrogation, as shown on the videotape of said interrogation that was not missing or deleted, but was actually provided to the defense. A. On video, Holman never read Rick Allen his Miranda rights, nor mentioned them to Rick Allen. Rick Allen was placed in a tiny, confined room without windows. Okay, so for B, tiny room without windows, that happens. It's a tactic. It's not against the law. C, Rick Allen was placed in a tiny, confined room and Holman shut the door. Once again, standard practice. They don't interview somebody with the door open usually. Rick Allen was D. Rick Allen was placed in a tiny confined room with Jerry Holman while the door was shut. They're just repeating themselves in there. Okay. Lying to Rick about many things, and not everything Holman told Rick was a fact. Once again, it's not illegal for the cops to lie to a person. We see it every day. If it was illegal, they wouldn't be able to do it. Sure, it's the room used for all interviews. Maybe standard practice. I know I would feel intimidated and scared. Anybody would. Being in a police station, being questioned. Subject does not feel free to leave. They are in custody. Not in custody. Said Holman told me he wanted to ask him some questions. In the first interrogation, he knew his rights, that he could leave. Unless he has written transcriptions. It's an interview technique. Was he told that he was not allowed to leave? Not that we know of. This filing opened my eyes to better understand what happened here. Makes much more sense. Imagine someone shouting at you, calling you a liar, saying death penalty on the table. You would feel like you couldn't leave. A standard regular person, yes, I can see that. All right. At the 42:33 mark, Holman said, "I'm not lying to you, Rick. That's unethical." Holman had been lying to Rick. Dumb. Dumb, Holman, dumb. Jerry Holman told Rick Allen that he was supposed to be an exploratory interview. The prosecutor and the other investigators, they want to see you. Lock you up and throw away the key. So to me, from what I know, Holman is doing an awful job. Awful job at asking him questions. Right off the start, if this is true, and there weren't things in between this, because you got to realize this is the defense's side of what happened and what they saw. But yes, in my opinion, Holman looks like an ass. Jeremy Holman barked at Rick Allen in what was supposed to be an exploratory interview. "If you don't tell me, you're going down for this." Jerry Holman told Rick Allen in what was supposed to be an exploratory interview, "Do you realize the death penalty is on the table for this?" At various times, Jerry Holman yelled at Rick Allen, including using profanity laced language, while accusing Rick Allen of the murders. Rick Allen asked Holman to stop the interview. Rick said, "I'm done," early into the interrogation at the 12:05 mark, but Holman continued his interrogation. The state police never turned over the vehicle to Kathy Allen after Rick Allen was arrested. Returning the vehicle to Rick and Kathy was merely a subterfuge to get Rick to the police post to be interrogated. Good God, what a mess. Peter, I am right there with you. He doesn't need to be under arrest. He just needs to feel he's not allowed to leave. I think defense should win this motion. However, Gull will just deny. And I think this is going to be one more reason why an appeal at the end, if he's found guilty, is going to happen. Unless Holman and McClelland can prove that Miranda was done and something was signed, this should be out, in my opinion, from reading this. And I agree, Sleuthy, the appellate court is not going to like that. The law. The Indiana Supreme Court dealt with a very similar fact pattern in State versus ER, which reversed the Indiana appellate court holding that ER's constitutional rights had been violated, therefore suppressing his statement. In State versus ER, the accused had voluntarily driven to the police station at the request of the police to answer questions concerning an allegation of inappropriate touching. I absolutely feel that if Richard Allen is convicted, this will go to appeal. Absolutely. On this case, Allen voluntarily arrived at the station to pick up a vehicle, but unlike ER, Allen was unaware that he would be asked questions once he arrived at the Lafayette police post. 36. The following occurred when ER was interrogated compared to when Rick Allen was interrogated. ER was interrogated in a small windowless room. Rick Allen was interrogated in a small windowless room. Law enforcement officers failed to provide Miranda warnings to ER. Video shows that Holman failed to provide Rick Allen his Miranda warnings. Multiple times, law enforcement told ER to sit tight. On multiple occasions, Holman told Rick Allen to sit tight when he, Holman, would leave the interrogation room. Okay, if that is true, then yes, Rick Allen felt like he couldn't go anywhere. And once Rick Allen said that he was going to leave, that interview should have been over. Nothing else should have been said. In ER's interrogation, law enforcement actually told ER that he, ER, was able to walk out of the interrogation room door if he wanted. ER was also told that he, ER, did not have to ever talk to law enforcement if he didn't want to. Still, the Indiana Supreme Court found that even with those particular statements by law enforcement to ER, it was not enough to cause ER to feel free to leave. And I agree with that. Contrast ER's interrogation with Rick Allen's interrogation on video. Jerry Holman never told Rick Allen that he was free to leave, nor did Jerry Holman ever tell Rick that he, Rick, did not have to talk to law enforcement. In ER, the police significantly undercut any initial message of freedom when they drastically changed the interrogation atmosphere, when a second officer entered the room and became more aggressive. Although there was only one officer involved, Holman, that officer stated the interrogation in a much calmer manner before amping up the intensity, ultimately erupting with cursing and yelling at Rick Allen. The officers did not tell ER that he, ER, wasn't under arrest. Holman never told Rick Allen wasn't under arrest. In fact, when Rick Allen continually denied having anything to do with the murders, as well as words to the effect that Holman has made up his mind and go ahead and arrest me. Holman never told Rick, "You are not under arrest." Police never told ER that he, ER, could end the interrogation at any time. Holman never told Rick Allen that he could end the interrogation at any time. The officers repeatedly told ER to explain what happened, coaxing him, "Tell us now so that we know what you're being honest with us and not lying." Holman repeatedly told Rick Allen to explain what happened and attempted to cuss Rick Allen to talk to him for a variety of reasons. In ER, the officers were explicit and they believed ER had engaged in the accused conduct, and their questions were accusatory, not exploratory. Throughout the interrogation, Holman explicitly told Rick Allen that he, Holman, the prosecutor, and other law enforcement officers all believed that Rick Allen had engaged in the accused conduct, murder, and Holman's questions throughout the entire interrogation were accusatory, not exploratory. Included in the videotaped interrogations are the following exchanges that highlight the accusatory, not exploratory, nature of Holman's interrogation of Rick Allen. Okay, we'll get to those in a minute. Yep, he shouldn't have said another word. I agree. If found guilty, he will appeal. Just means you think he will get convicted. I think at this point, it's a 50-50 crapshoot. Carrie, he was scared under pressure. Scared under pressure. Maybe didn't think. Holman should have told him he can request a lawyer. I agree. In fact, they're usually on camera. We'll show them the Miranda form, read each one, ask on camera if they can read, write English. Yep. I think from what we know, prosecution have a strong case, but we haven't heard the evidence, so we need to wait for trial. I agree. At this point, we're only hearing the defense's side. But with saying that, if we're able to listen to this interrogation and it goes like the defense says, this should be thrown out. Absolutely, in my opinion. And it's Holman's word right now against the defense's word. That is why the prosecution or Holman has to provide proof that he was read his Miranda rights and signed the form. If they can't do that, anything Rick Allen says in this interview should be thrown out. Okay. So now everybody's talking about the bullet. And Sleuthy is right. Holman can write whatever he wants in a statement or a record or whatever, but unless he can prove it, I don't see this coming in. At least it shouldn't, in what I know of the court system. Okay, so now let's see what Jerry Holman says. You're going to drag your effing wife and your daughter through this because you're too effing bullheaded to get out in front of this and admit you made a mistake. And whatever the F happened out there, we'll never effing know because you're too big of a effing inaudible. Let me just say this. We know that these officers are under pressure and they do this type of thing. Okay. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But if you're trying to get information on the person you're sitting across from, acting like this is not going to help you get information. It's going to make that person close completely down and not answer anything. Jerry Holman, the evidence clearly indicates you are involved in this. That is a big word. Involved. He does not say that the evidence clearly indicates you are the person that committed these murders. You have to listen to the wording. Take it for what it is. The evidence clearly indicates you are involved in this. Rick Allen says no. Jerry Holman, it effing does. Oh my. Oops. This is page 10. Yes. Okay. Rick Allen, it doesn't. I'm telling you that there is no way that a bullet from my gun was used in these murders. Jerry Holman, and I'm telling you that we had this effing round on February 14th, 2017, and it's been secured in an effing laboratory, and we've tested other guns. Well, we know that's true because we know that, oh, why is his name blanking out of my head? Kay's son. We know that his gun was tested. We know that other guns have been taken and tested. Rick Allen, you could have taken it from somewhere else then because it's not possible. What does Rick Allen mean by that? So I'm interpreting that to say that Rick Allen is accusing them of taking it from his home or something and saying it was at the site. Jerry Holman, and I'm telling you that effing analyst, explain it. You can't get past this. That's right, he said involved. Considering the other list of circumstances doesn't mean that he is not involved, right? Good to know. 4 pit bulls, if you're going to be in my chat, be respectful to the other members in my chat. Good to know they found Bullet on day 1. Right. Okay. Jerry Holman says, I'm not on video. Rick says, neither am I. Jerry Holman, 4 or 5 witnesses didn't see me out there. Rick says, me either. Jerry Holman, my round out of my gun wasn't 6 inches away from a dead girl. Rick says, mine neither. Jerry Holman, I don't think you're a bad person. Rick, what kind of good person kills 2 people? True. I'm not on video, neither am I. 4 or 5 witnesses didn't see me out there. Me either. So what I want to know is exactly what was on those witness statements. From what we've heard, it's been a generalization. Not one witness statement has said that it was Rick Allen out there that day. Okay. You're going to pay for what you've done to my wife. You want to F with me, but you leave my wife out of this. F. Leave me out of this. Jerry Holman, no, you're involved in this. You're effing around is there, Rick? Rick Allen, no, I'm not. Jerry Holman, you're guilty of something. You're guilty, and I know it, and I'm going to effing prove it. So here we go again with the wording. You're guilty of something. Not you're guilty of killing these 2 girls. Marv, wonder if Ellie knows the person being interrogated prior to arrest, especially if the town is small. Wonder their protocol. Yeah. I think the prosecution has his hands full. I think he's going to have to provide information on what protocols are and everything else. Can't say you think I did this and then tell me I'm a good person because good people don't kill people. Yeah? I'd really like to know what this has to do with his wife. That got me. That got me big time. You're going to pay for what you've done to my wife. So what exactly have the police done to his wife except tell her that they think he is a suspect in the murder of 2 children and have come and searched their house, taken items, and taken their car. What really did they do to Kathy at this point? Try to turn her against him? And the whole you're guilty of something. You're guilty and I know it and I'm going to prove it. Okay. That's the word something really bothers me. Nowhere in this there is he stating you are guilty of killing 2 girls. If they truly thought he was the one that did it, they would come out. He should have come out and said it, not you're guilty of something. My statement as a police officer would be, I believe you are guilty of killing those 2 girls. And I'm going to prove it. I pulled up ISP protocol for this specifically. Marv is right. They need to cough it up or he screwed this up even on their own basis. Yeah, I agree. Main thing I got from this was the bullet. Heard many rumors, but Holman said 14th, and defense hasn't said that's a lie. Right. Well, Sleuthy, I'm sure she was torn up about the search. I mean, come on. They're pointing their finger at her husband, and I'm sure that they made comments to her telling her that her husband is the one that killed these 2 girls and tried to pit the 2 of them against each other. It's detective work to a point. Everything in here, okay, so let me bring me close. Everything in this statement would be fine if they can prove the Miranda rights were given and that Alan was told that he could leave at any time. If they can't prove that, anything that Alan says can't be used against him in this interview. But he really hasn't said anything that can be used against him either, in my opinion. And, I mean, how can you not feel bad for his wife? Unless she knew or thought herself that he had something to do with this and had doubts before, this was a big blow to her when this happened. And when something like that happens, you start going down memory lane and thinking about anything and everything that has happened in your life with this person. And darts start creeping in. I mean, that's just a fact. You are so torn. You believe that he couldn't do it. There's no way he had anything to do with it. But then as you're going down memory lane, things keep coming up in your memory and doubt does creep in. It's just normal. And it's not her fault. It's not her daughter's fault. But I'm telling you, the prosecution better have a lot of evidence. And no, I agree with you, Carrie. They can't be faulted for RA's own actions. It may not look great for him, Sleuthy, but it's all tactics being used. It's not against the law to use these tactics. I've already said I don't agree with the way that Holman conducted the interview. Silas says, Sleuthy, I think that is because they can place him there, but not rule out an accomplice waiting down the hill. Right. And that would go with the whole thing of them saying or making inferences to more than one person, many tentacles, all that good stuff. Did they threaten to arrest her for abiding? We don't know. We don't know. Nothing like that has been stated. More than one waiting. Exactly. Police questioning of ER was prolonged, lasting about an hour. The questioning was sustained and relatively drawn out, especially compared to roadside traffic stop questioning. I don't know if I would put that in there. Road stop traffic is a lot less than touching a child. All right. Holman's questioning of Rick Allen was nearly 3 times longer than law enforcement questioned ER. Holman's prolonged questioning lasted 2 hours and 41 minutes. Of course, that represents the length of the questioning that was actually videotaped. Since there is missing videotape, the entire length of questioning is unknown. The questioning was sustained and drawn out over that time, especially when compared to roadside traffic stop questioning. Once again, I don't agree with the road stop questioning. I mean, come on. Of course, that's going to take less time to question somebody other than or versus touching a child. That's just common sense. The officers continued continued the interrogation of ER past the time ER was supposed to pick up his daughter. Rick went to the station to pick up his vehicle, but Holman never mentioned anything about where or how Rick or his wife were to pick up the car. At the conclusion of the interrogation, ER was allowed to leave and return home. The fact is mentioned in the Court of Appeals opinion, but not the Supreme Court opinion. Rick Allen was not free to leave as he was handcuffed and arrested on camera after over 2 hours and 40 minutes of denying involvement in the murders. The facts involving Holman's handling of Rick Allen's interrogation are more egregious than those facts in ER in several ways. For example, The Indiana Supreme Court found that ER's constitutional rights had been violated even when ER had been allowed to leave the police station. While in this case at hand, Holman knew the entire time that he was interrogating Rick Allen that at the end of the interview, he, Holman, would be arresting Rick Allen, as Allen did not make any statements to Holman that were not already known. The entire interview was Holman accusing and Rick denying. All right. For example, the Indiana Supreme Court found that ER's constitutional rights had been violated even when ER had been allowed to leave the police station. While in the case at hand, Holman knew the entire time that he was interrogating Rick Allen, that at the end of the interview, Holman would be arresting Rick Allen, as Allen did not make any statements to Holman that were not already known. The entire interview was Holman accusing and Rick denying. Absolutely. All right. Law enforcement clearly knew ahead of Rick Allen's interrogation that they would be arresting Allen for the murders. However, rather than arrest Rick Allen at his home or work or after pulling him over, Holman waited until he had one more opportunity to interrogate Rick Allen without Miranda. Did they threaten Kathy or put handcuffs on her? We don't know. They're talking about custody versus not in custody. This will be interesting to see here all or most tentacles, as Ellie stated at one. We will be shocked. Exactly. All right. Holman knew that Rick had walked out of October 13, 2022 interrogation with Mullen and Liggett, and therefore it was unlikely that Rick would answer any more questions with Holman unless Rick felt he was not allowed to leave. Miranda would be a nuisance that would likely cause Rick to walk out on Holman, the way that Rick walked out on Liggett and Mullins. If so, Holman would not be able to secure a confession that he, Holman, clearly wanted to secure on his own. I would agree with that. He was definitely after that. According to State versus ER, a defendant is required to show by a preponderance of evidence that he was subjected to custodial interrogation. The videotaped interrogation of Rick Allen shows by a preponderance of evidence that Rick Allen was subjected to a custodial interrogation. Additionally, the defendant is required to allege custodial interrogation in the absence of Miranda warnings. Last page. The videotaped interrogation of Rick Allen shows that Holman did not provide Rick Allen with Miranda warnings and then subjected Rick Allen to a custodial interrogation. Furthermore, ER is required to point to some evidence that his statements were made in violation of his constitutional rights. The videotaped statement of Rick Allen provides a whole host of evidence in detailed herein that statements made by Rick Allen on the day in question violated both his state and federal constitutional rights against self-incrimination. Wherefore, the accused Rick Allen requests the court to suppress all statements made by Rick Allen at his October 26, 2022 interrogation and to issue a finding that Jerry Holman and the state police violated Rick Allen's constitutional rights. Respectfully submitted, Andrew J. Baldwin. Okay. My thought on this is, upon reading this interrogation and stuff, Rick Allen really didn't say anything to give Jerry Holman any new information. He denied everything, right? But in order to show that the police department didn't follow their procedures and didn't Mirandize them, that's why he's asking for the statement to be thrown out. Not that there's anything in the statement that could hurt Rick Allen. It's another way to prove, for the defense to try to prove that the cops had been against Rick Allen all this time and have committed shortcuts and haven't followed procedure. And if I'm thinking about it, we're reading through this. He goes and he gives a statement thinking he's going to help. They go to his house and they search it. Up until this point, they wouldn't have had enough evidence on Rick Allen to arrest him. But after the search of his house and impounding his car, that tells me that evidence was found in that search and by them impounding his car and looking at his car. There were things found that finally gave them enough evidence to arrest him. If they hadn't found anything in that search or in the vehicle, Rick Allen would have never been arrested. They wouldn't have had enough. And that's just me using common sense and thinking through the situation. Oh, okay. Yes, Marv, that's why the defense wants this thrown out. That's possible, Ron. We only have the portion of the interview the defense chose. That's another thing. Totally agree, Marv. Randy says there was not enough evidence to arrest him any other time. Right. And that's what I just said. We do know what was said. Well, we don't. They do. They absolutely do. So, you're right, Silas. They're trying to suppress the rest of that 2-hour interview that we were not told about. So, what statements did Richard Allen make that the defense does not want to tell us about? Yes, there is a list of items found at Rick's property. Evidence planted? I don't know. Hi, Phil. How are you? He denied the bullet and gave no excuse why his bullet would be at the crime scene. What was said that would be against him in court? He wouldn't be able to go back and add later. Right. So everything that we've been told that was said in this motion by the defense doesn't hurt Rick Allen. But there's something in the statement that the defense isn't telling us that hurts Rick Allen. What is it? This is why we have to be so careful when reading these documents. You can't take everything that the prosecution or the defense says as dead honest truth, because they only pick parts that will help their case. You have to wait until the trial and listen to the evidence in its entirety, and then make your decision as to what happened. So I want you to remember that. This is just the first live. I have a lot more documents to go through. But as you can see, this is my method of when I'm reading documents by myself. I'm reading them. I'm talking to myself, thinking through what could have gone on, what are we missing, things like that. So, what is on the agenda for the rest of the weekend? Tomorrow night, or tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, we're doing the next episode of the Tabitha Shuck Rains case. Monday, members only live. It's going to be the very first one for Beyond the Evidence. I've got some subjects that I really want to talk to everybody about, hear what they think can relate to all of these cases. And it's just going to be us talking to each other. You can come up by me and talk. You can talk in the chat, whatever. But it's going to be a serious discussion. And then we are going to be doing another episode of these documents because I'm really behind. So that'll probably be on Tuesday. I'm just going to keep going backwards and reading them until I get caught up. All right, everybody. Thank you for spending time with me on your Saturday. I appreciate it. Please click the like button. Put a comment down below. Remember, this is a fan-funded YouTube channel. And any donations through Superchats, Superstickers, Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo would be greatly appreciated. Too bad we wouldn't be able to her live on Delphi Case Television. I know. I would love to have it. Better be streamed. That's all I got to say, or it's going to drive me nuts. Thank you to everyone for joining me. Come back and hear Tabitha's story tomorrow. And join me for the first ever Members Live on Monday. And I've got more things for this coming week. More episodes of the documents. We need to do an update on Elijah Vu and bring out some other cases. So with that being said, remember, we are a voice for the voiceless. And justice does matter for each and every victim and their family out there. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.